Hello everyone, I hope you are safe in your home in this crucial world. My name is Mr.Dark, and today I bring you the harrowing story of Samantha Lee Joseph. Imagine the quiet serenity of a small town, where everyone knows each other and life seems to move at a gentle, predictable pace. It was in such a place that Samantha's life took a dark and unexpected turn. As you listen to her story, you'll be drawn into a world of mystery, suspense, and heartache. Samantha was a charming individual with a great smile. Her parents' names are Seymour and Marcy Josephson. Born in Princeton, New Jersey, and raised in Robbinsville, New Jersey, Samantha was a very ambitious girl. She chose to major in political science at the University of South Carolina. At the time of her demise, Samantha was a senior in college and planned on graduating in 2019. She had a significant interest in law and decided to study at Drexel University, where she earned a full scholarship and a partial scholarship to Rutgers. She also had the opportunity to practice international law at Columbia. In the heart of Columbia, amidst the hustle and bustle of college life, a student named Samantha Lee Josephson faced a dark and tragic turn that ended her life. Her story captured the nation's attention. Samantha was an astonishingly beautiful woman with a handsome boyfriend named Greg. They had been together for many years and were a mature couple who understood each other's priorities. They stayed in constant touch through texts and calls whenever they had time. They had future plans together, and Greg had decided to move in with her to provide support. Everything was going perfectly until Friday, March 29th, 2019. Samantha and her friends decided to go to a bar that night to celebrate the end of their exams. Her boyfriend Greg was also planning to attend the party, but was in his hometown, so he advised Samantha to go with her friends. Samantha was feeling sad after hearing the news of her uncle's death and needed a distraction to cheer herself up. The group met up, visited a few different bars, and finally settled at a bar known as the Bird Dog in an area called 5 Points. This bar was very popular, especially among students. Samantha was having a great night with her friends, although she was continuously texting Greg, trying to convince him to come and meet her because she wanted emotional support. The couple had already made plans for the following weekend, so Greg did not change his mind about visiting her that night, but he maintained constant communication with her. At 2 a.m., Samantha decided to go back to her apartment. She left the bar and booked a popular rideshare service called Uber, as she was not in a state to go home on her own. Samantha texted her boyfriend one last message, letting him know she was going home and had booked an Uber. This was not unusual for her boyfriend, because Samantha had done this many times before. Samantha was standing near the sidewalk, wearing an orange shirt and black pants. Security footage showed a car approaching Samantha and others who were waiting for their rides. Samantha initially thought it was her cab, but when she realized it wasn't, she stepped back. After some time, a black Chevrolet Impala driven by Nathaniel David Roland pulled up in front of her. Samantha assumed it was her Uber, opened the door, exchanged a quick word with the driver, and texted her boyfriend that the Uber had arrived and she was heading to her apartment. Moments later, a message arrived on Samantha's phone indicating that the Uber had arrived at the designated pickup location. After searching for the customer and not finding her, the driver canceled the request and left the location. No one knew that Samantha had gotten into the wrong car, except for the Impala driver, Nathaniel. Everybody who lived near 5 Points knew that students waited for their cabs and rides after parties. Later, it was seen on security cameras that the black Chevrolet Impala circled the area 4 times, suggesting that the driver, Nathaniel David Roland, knew what he was doing. Samantha's caring boyfriend, Greg, checked her live location via the Find My Friends app on her phone. He noticed that Samantha was going in the opposite direction from her apartment, but thought she might be heading to a friend's house. After some time, Greg texted Samantha to check on her, but she never responded. Half an hour later, he called her, but she didn't pick up and never called him back. Greg became increasingly worried and texted and called her constantly until he noticed that his messages were delivered but never read. Eventually, her location stopped sharing, which shocked Greg as it had never happened before. Greg became tense and called her friends, but nobody had seen her after the party. He thought maybe she had misplaced her phone in the Uber and would try to contact him in the morning. By morning, Samantha's friends were also concerned. They checked everything and did everything they could to find her. After trying for 2 hours, they reported Samantha as missing. Greg didn't think twice and made the 2-hour drive to Colombia. 4 to 5 hours later, a group of turkey hunters in a woodland area about 65 miles away from 5 Points found the body of a young woman. They called 911 immediately, and the cops arrived at the scene within a few minutes. It was evident that the woman had been violently attacked. Her body had more than 120 separate stab wounds, with injuries to her face, head, neck, hands, upper body, and legs. It was clear that a severe attack had been inflicted on her. Her fingers were also cut into pieces, indicating she had tried to defend herself but couldn't. A normal human body has about 4 liters of blood, but hers contained only 20 milliliters, indicating massive blood loss. The woman was later identified as Samantha. Investigators quickly reviewed the surveillance footage and saw that Samantha got into a black Chevrolet Impala. The footage showed the black Impala circling the block several times, indicating that the driver was searching for a potential victim. Samantha had booked an Uber and mistakenly thought that the black Impala was her cab. The Uber driver that Samantha called arrived a short time later, but when he couldn't find his customer, he canceled the ride and left. It was now likely that the driver of the black Chevrolet Impala was responsible for Samantha's abduction. It was also assumed that the Wii child lock was on, preventing Samantha from opening the door from inside. The investigators released the car's description in the hope of finding it quickly. The next day, the car was found near the area where Samantha had been kidnapped, at 3 a.m. near a gas station. When the cops pulled the car over, the driver tried to escape, but after a short chase, he was caught. The driver was identified as Nathaniel Roland from New Zion. When they investigated the car, they found a child's seat in the back, surrounded by bloodstains. The cops immediately contacted the forensic team and detectives. It was evident that the child lock was activated, and there were footprints on the window, indicating that someone had tried to break out. They also found Samantha's cell phone in the car. Detectives discovered a variety of cleaning products, such as bleach and antibacterial wipes, which Nathaniel Roland had used to try to remove the traces of evidence. However, he hadn't been able to clean properly, as there was still a significant amount of blood in the car. During the interview, Nathaniel Roland denied every allegation the cops made, claiming he was innocent and had no knowledge of Samantha's kidnapping and murder. Even when presented with evidence, he maintained his innocence. However, after a physical examination, it was discovered that Samantha's DNA was found under Roland's fingernails, but none of Roland's DNA was found on Samantha. This was highly unusual for the detectives. They concluded that Samantha was a victim of a blitz attack. Roland activated the child lock as soon as Samantha entered the car, believing it was her Uber. He then repeatedly stabbed her with a double-bladed knife, overpowering her. Despite her attempts, Samantha was unable to defend herself or leave any marks on her attacker, leaving her helpless. After murdering Samantha, Roland drove her body to a farmer's access road in New Zion, an area populated only by locals, and dumped her in the nearby woods. He then returned home and casually engaged with social media, behaving as if nothing had happened. His residence was nearby where he dumped Samantha's body, and he had lived there for many years, providing strong evidence against him. Upon investigating Roland's life, authorities discovered that he had enrolled at South Carolina State University, but there was no record of his graduation or current employment status. Roland also had a criminal record. First, for forging property documents illegally, and second, for participating in a carjacking where he and another man assaulted a woman, forced her to withdraw money from an ATM, stole her belongings, and fled in her car. When detectives obtained a search warrant for his girlfriend Maria's apartment in New Zion, near Roland's house, they discovered a sock in Roland's backyard, stained with Samantha's blood. Additionally, they found bleach wipes and 2 knives with blood on them. Testing confirmed that the blood on the knives belonged to Samantha. Despite the evidence, Roland maintained his innocence, insisting he was not guilty of the crime. The trial began in the summer of 2021, with Roland's defense team arguing his innocence and pointing out the lack of his DNA on Samantha. However, the prosecutors presented a substantial amount of evidence against Roland. They called 31 witnesses, including a man who witnessed Roland cleaning the weapons, and a shop owner whom Roland had attempted to sell Samantha's phone to. In his defense, Roland had nothing to offer and lacked witnesses. Nevertheless, he continued to proclaim his innocence and requested leniency from the judge. After only an hour of deliberation, the jury reached a verdict. Roland was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Samantha's parents initiated an NGO to prevent others from enduring the tragedy their beloved daughter faced. They launched an initiative to provide guidelines for individuals of all age groups who commonly use ride-sharing services. Their advice includes asking the driver's name before entering the vehicle. Concurrently, cab owners also took steps to enhance safety for both drivers and passengers. They implemented a 4-digit code called OTP to verify the authenticity of both the driver and the passenger. The story deeply saddened Samantha's boyfriend, her parents, and her friends.